Hey guys, so today I'm going to talk about what we might call the timeline shift, what I've called the timeline shift ET contact method. So this is really an expansion on the CE5 technique which I used to start my journey off, as you saw in the last video. And there's a really interesting story behind how I came to these realizations of how reality works and how the timeline shift method works and how CE5 really works, because Dr. Greer, who started this CE5 meditation technique off, he doesn't believe in the great ETs. He thinks all the great abductions are government engineered, like psyops, psychological operations to instill fear in the public, and they they're like these programmed life forms, and they use drugs to convince people that something real's going on. Morning. And but I was actually like visualizing the grey ETs to make contact with, because he wasn't showing that much information at the time. I was like piecing this together from his talks and like my own idea of what ETs were. So he doesn't believe the grey ETs are real like ETs, but I was actually using them in my CE5 meditation to make contact, visualizing the idea of grey ETs. And then I had this series of 3 UFO sightings, and I had a big awakening and contact experience late 2009. And sometime between that, I actually came across the teachings of Bashar, channeled by Daryl Anker, who is a hybrid entity, a hybrid consciousness come back from our future, who is part of the abduction program, the hybridization program, where the grey ETs, the Zeta Greys as they're sometimes known. Check out my other video on alien abduction to learn more about the Zeta Greys. They're working on this hybridization program where they tunneled through to our parallel timeline, hybridized with us. The Zeta Greys would use our DNA and mix it with their DNA to produce a hybrid species. And Bashar, channeled by Daryl Anker, is one of these hybrid species from the future, one of these hybrid beings from the future. And so is Tahinio, the Yael, from a different hybrid species that was also a product of this hybridization program. And so it's interesting. So Dr. Greer doesn't believe in all this. He kind of gets it because he understands that like the Greys are programmed life forms, but he doesn't understand that they're from a parallel timeline, a parallel reality. And he's not really into the idea of creating your own reality. But this is what became very clear to me as what had occurred through doing this contact visualization, through doing the CE5 meditation. If you understand the idea of the law of attraction, and we create our own reality, you'll understand, if you've gone deep into the spiritual process, you'll understand that like reality exists within us, and everything is a reflection of our own consciousness, like what we focus our attention upon, what we visualize. So the idea in the law of attraction, classically you visualize like £1 million coming in, and eventually you like manifest £1 million if you're really good at manifesting and you've got no negative beliefs associated with it, and you can keep a very pure vibration. And this works for a lot of people. It normally involves some work, not for everyone though. And anyway, so the idea is that like what we visualize, what we focus our attention on, what we focus our consciousness on, is what we create in our reality, kind of, which usually stems from our beliefs and our perspectives. So we're always creating our reality as we go along. And what I was doing, so every time I was doing this this CE5 meditation, where I was visualizing the image of a classic grey ET at the start of the visualization meditation, was I realized now I was actually creating my reality, because everything's an illusion within our consciousness, and we're actually shifting through like millions of parallel realities every second. We're always shifting timelines. Every thought we have, every step we take, like literally billions of times a second, we're moving through billions of different timelines, billions of different parallel realities. And this is kind of the physics of how creation works. So sometime in the past, like I've done something that's created this reality with a Royal Mail van coming through maybe there's a message coming, maybe it's coming delivering a message, it's a reflection. So this is the kind of idea, we're always creating our reality as we go. And like when I did a few videos previously talking about what I call the timeline shift ET contact meditation, where it actually like one, I was talking about reptilians, and then I manifested during the video like an image of a dinosaur, and another one I began intentionally visualizing a parrot, and I came across like a statue of a parrot like during the video. And so just to give an example of how the power of visualization works and how we create our reality. Another example of this is how I was like visualizing a golden orb of light flying over my head for 10 minutes, and then I opened my eyes and there was a Chinese lantern flying over my head, and actually 15 minutes after that I had a real contact experience. This kind of shows like how we create our reality within our own consciousness. But what is actually happening is like reality is infinite, and we navigate through many different parallel realities every second, billions of different parallel realities, billions of timelines every second, to give the illusion of fluid reality, to give the illusion of this time-space reality. And so how we create this reality is through what we focus our attention upon. So I understand that what I was doing when I was doing the CE5 meditation, through visualizing the image of the grey extraterrestrial, was I was actually shifting to a timeline where they existed. I was actually creating this reality within my consciousness. It wasn't so much that I was connecting in with ETs out there and inviting them into this reality. Yes, there's some truth to that. The experience of how reality works, I was creating that experience in this reality. But the truth and the metaphysics of what was actually occurring is that through visualizing like the grey extraterrestrial, I was like creating a reality where I was connecting in with like grey extraterrestrials, and of course I wanted to connect in with love, like amazing grey extraterrestrials that would help us. So I created like this hybrid species. So as well as having all the UFO sightings and the later physical contact experiences that I've had, what I now understand occurred was about like I don't know, maybe 6 months after I was doing this C5 contact meditation, I came across the channelings of Bashar Chanabai Dawalanka, who was like, looks very much like this grey ET that I was visualizing. So I now understand that I actually created that in my consciousness. Like, this reality is just a dream, it's just an illusion, it's not our ultimate reality. We've come into like this this kind of like lower dimensional we've come into this reality, and like it's just all an illusion, it's all a dream, this is all a projection of our consciousness, and we're creating our reality as we go through the vibrations we focus upon, through the energy we focus upon in our reality. And so I understand now that I shifted to a timeline where Bashar existed, where Dawalanka existed. I shifted to a timeline, a parallel reality, where I was having all these UFO sightings and experiences. And I've now successfully shifted to a timeline where like a Congress are talking about ETs, NASA is talking about ETs, disclosure is like right on the fringe of happening. So this is the idea of the timeline shift ET contact method, and it's basically just a case of visualizing what you desire to experience. So for example, if you want to connect with a blue entity from Sirius who can teach you how to live in a constant state of bliss, you just need, like, every night, if you spend some time meditating and like visualize the idea of a Syrian spaceship coming down into your reality, whatever you want it to look like. It's your reality, it's your choose your own adventure role-playing game. So you can choose any reality, you can choose any experience you wish. So what do you want the ET to look like? What do you want the spaceship to look like? What frequency and vibration and ability to share information with you do you want them to look like? And visualize this every night in your mind's eye. Perhaps 40 minutes is amazing, you can do it for 40 minutes, but 15 minutes is okay as well. Like 15 minutes is kind of the minimum, because that's kind of the creates a really good vibrational impulse that will come back in our reality. So this is the timeline shift ET contact method. Peace, love, light, and Shivai.